Sanje Jodon, Toji, Jono, No, Chanjun, Pardo, Dani, Josun, Dagi, Jizo, Jibi, Sunum, Dola, Penjira, Sanje, Dubra, Jo, Sanje Jodon, Toji, Jono, No, Chanjun, Pardo, Dani, Josun, Dagi, Jizo, Jibi, Sunum, Jin, Dola, Penjira, Sanje, Dubra, Jo, Sanje Jodon, Toji, Jono, No, Chanjun, Pardo, Dani, Josun, Dagi jinso jibi sunam jindo la penjire san jindo vara sho chanju nyingro shiji ma sanje namla chodan chanju senpa solan dejin jazun ji nalen daro tudam de denje zangji kala shiwa laji shija Lama de la jangza lo so yi bu yi ju yi me to dam ni ji ni de jin ban de san ji xin do mi de ku ai do ku nam da xin do je bra jo So, non-virtuous deeds, there are generally two different types of the non-virtuous deeds. By nature, non-virtuous deeds, and by or through the commitment to non-virtuous deeds. And by nature, non-virtuous deeds are 10 non-virtuous deeds, because they are naturally, whoever commits those activities, and it is already a non-virtuous deed. So the commitment, which means taking through the vows, or something that Buddha made a law. So those are called non-virtuous deeds through the commitment. So taking, breaking the Bodhisattva vow is the non-virtuous deed by taking or by through commitment. So most of the our practices, like taking refuge, taking bodhicitta, or any other practices, more or less comes through the certain vow, or through the ceremony, or through the commitment. So all those activities that goes against those precepts, or you break the precepts, and then those are called non-virtuous deed by commitment. And yesterday's teaching said that for the sake of other sentient beings, if one commits the non-virtuous deed, then that is seemingly non-virtuous deed, but not actually non-virtuous deed. It's because of the motivations. But then this, you must have a very careful understanding, otherwise it may be a big mistake and then big problem. So what it means is that, for example, if your friend is going to be killed by somebody, and you saved your friend and killed the enemy, and that is not considered a bodhisattva practice, though it is saving the other people. The purpose should be very great purpose. As I have given the example, the story that yesterday,
that the navigator and the merchants. So such things are there, then it is not seemingly, it is not the non-virtuous deed. Because actually he did not, the navigator did not navigator's motivation was that he did not think that killing the one man, saving the 499 merchant is the merit for him. But what he thought was that if he did this, and this merchant, the evil merchant, he would be saved from practicing the sin. So in other words, he did not mind for himself experiencing sufferings through such commitment, through such activities, non-virtuous activities. So there is such great purpose and such great exchange oneself for the others. Then these things are Bodhisattva practice. And for example, sometimes for normal purpose, that if you sometimes, for some circumstances, you need to also show the angers to benefit that person. And that anger is actually, then will not be the non-virtuous deed, anger. Or that anger itself will not be the, what you call that, defilement or affliction. Because your motivation inside, though physically you look angry, but your motivation inside is your compassion and the bodhicitta. So through this kind of things, if you practice, if you benefit the sentient beings, then this is considered the bodhisattva practice. It is considered a virtuous deed. Otherwise, you know, the war in the Iraq is actually, Bush seems to be good, because he says he wants to liberate the Iraqis. He wants to set the democracy in Iraqis. But then this kind of thing is not a virtuous deed. This is non-virtuous deed. Because one thing is, his motivation may not be that. Another thing is, it is obvious that so many people are being killed. And if Saddam Hussein was the head of the country, such killing will not happen, though there is no democracy, though there is no such kind of liberation, freedom, but such killing will not be there. And another thing is, yes, for example, is the terrorists. Terrorists, they sacrifice their life, saying for good cause. And such sacrifice is not bodhisattva. Either in the name of Dharma, either in the name of the country, or whatever you do, this is not considered virtuous deed. This is non-virtuous deed. It is the mixed, the motivation is not really pure. So therefore, it is said that if somebody destroys Buddha's statue, one is Buddhist, one should not get angry to that person. And if somebody destroys monasteries, also you should not get angry, because these are not for the name of religion, if you do anything, that's not good. Instead, you must feel compassionate that person has committed such a severe non-virtuous deed, and he has to suffer long in the future. So instead of getting angry, then you must create compassion for that particular person. Otherwise, just because I am Buddhist, so he destroys image, and you get angry, you have attachment to your Buddhism, to your tradition. So that is not a good thing. And then, as one said, that no matter how severe negativities one may have committed, but they all can be purified. There's no such negativities that cannot be purified. But there's many examples, like Angulimala's story. Maybe many of you know that Angulimala story, right? That Angulimala was during the Buddha's time, that he met a wrong teacher, and his teacher told him that he should kill 1,000 people, make the rosary of the finger of that 1,000 people, and then you recite certain mantras and you will get the liberations. And he tried to do that, and he killed whoever he could kill. And it became that so much that Angulima's name became very popular in terms that great killer, human killer. And everybody who sees Angulima runs away, because otherwise he will kill and get the finger. Thumb. And so he killed already 899 people. So now he left only one person. And then that one person, the last person, happened to the Buddha. That he met the Buddha walking somewhere, and he was following the Buddha with the sharp knife. And then he looked, Buddha turned back, and Buddha asked him, he said, he called Buddha, stay there, wait for me. And Buddha turned and said, I am always there, I am not moving. So it means that his samadhi, his meditation, he is always with the meditation. His mind is not afflicted. And then he said, Buddha, he wanted to, kill the Buddha. So Buddha said, why you are doing all these things? And he said stories that what his teacher told. And I think Buddha showed some miracles so that he could automatically automatically the faith came in his mind, and then he asked Buddha to be his follower. So then Buddha accepted, and so Buddha gave the teachings, and he practiced, and he achieved arahantship. So today in Saravaka, that is the place of the Buddhist Holy Land in India, where actually Buddha went for retreat, summer retreat. I think some people say 21 times, means each year there is a 3-month summer retreat. So like that he did for 25 years, some says, but in historically I think it is 19 years. And so anyway, that is a very holy place, and the place is still existing there for the tourists or for the Buddhists to visit. And you could still see the ruins of this Angulimala's stupa, because he became the very high arhat, and his body's relics were kept in that stupa. And today you can see only the ruins, but not the stupa. And another story is there was a man whose name was Baldev, and he was very rich man, but he is very possessed with his wealth, and very evil-minded man, and so many this kind of bad characters he possessed. And one day he met a Hindu teacher, was a very great, famous teacher mostly at that time, and his name was Nyenpo. So then they met, and this Hindu teacher was very eloquent, and he talked very nice things to this man. And finally, he convinced this man. They become very good friends. And then he asked this Baldev that Buddha Shakyamuni was in such and such place now, with the 500 bhikkhus, means 500 monks. And Buddha did not know anything, but he just deceived these followers, and he just enjoying himself by deceiving these people. So we must kill him, Buddha, and so that he will not be, so that we can free those people from his deception. Deception. And so he agreed, and then he went back to his home, and he invited Buddha for lunch. Buddha and his followers. In ancient time, in Buddha's time, that there was no mess kitchen, is it? There's no mess where you can eat together. There's no actually kitchen, mess kitchen. So what they do is all the monks morning they go for food out. And sometimes good sponsors like kings and rich families, they invite all together for the meal. So he invited Buddha and all those things, his followers. And then he planned very bad things, that he digged the ground where he was going to ask Buddha to sit. And then he digged this ground and made the fires of the kind of this wood, that fire lasts long and very heat fires. Then he covered that, and then he put the mattress. And that time mattress means that grass mattress, made of grass or bamboo, not like this kind of at that time. So, and then he cooked the food, and he put the poison in the food. And his wife happened to know this thing, and the wife was so religious woman, and very great devotion to the Buddha. And so she asked the husband, this is not good, should not do that. So then he was very frightened that the wife will release the secret. So she tied the wife inside some hidden room. And that story happened to be known by some of the Buddha's followers. And then Buddha was told that stories and requested not to go for the meal there. And they said that if you are killed, then we all will be suffered, and this and that, and you are the lamb for this, for this earth, and like that. So then Buddha said, no, don't worry, nothing will happen, and I will go. And then he went there, and as he reaches near the place where he put the fire, and this man in his mind thought that he is claimed to be the omniscient, but he actually doesn't know that I have put the poison in the food, so now he is coming to eat this. So he lost faith. And he says, no, actually Buddha is not an enlightened being. The moment he thought that, Buddha stepped his right feet on the fire, and that place turned to be the pond where it's water, pond, and lotus flower grew up, and then Buddha sat on that. And then he really regretted that he realized that Buddha is an enlightened being, and then he confessed and told Buddha that now the food is not eatable because it is poisoned. And Buddha said it doesn't matter, you give the food to it. So then Buddha said stories that I have destroyed anger, so I cannot be burned by the fire of anger. I have destroyed desire or attachment, so I cannot be destroyed by the fire of anger. And I have eliminated the ignorance, so I cannot be burned by the fire of the ignorance. So in this way, then he gave the teachings, and that person born in heaven. So like that, even if you see in Buddhist point of view, if you have such an evil mind to the Buddha and to the ordinary person, that's a big difference, because it is more severe to have such evil mind to the Buddha or even higher people. Higher people means not rich or not higher politicians. Higher people means highly developed inside. Higher people. So this is it. So now, among the 8 limb practices, we finished the 7th one, and the last one is the dedication. Dedication of merit, usually according to the Mahayana, is to dedicate whatever merit you have accumulated. You can even dedicate the future merit that you would be accumulating in the future. And you can dedicate the past merit, present merit, future merit, in order to achieve the enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings. But here, according to the Shantidevas, it is slightly different, he said. So what he actual dedication merit is at the end, is last chapter. So here, though he said dedication of merit, but it is sort of compassion. It goes with the compassion. And this chapter is actually known as how to preserve the Bodhicitta. So all these, the teachings in this chapter is more or less to make the person to keep or preserve the Bodhisattva vow or Bodhisattva practice. So here, dedicating means that so you must, the person who has taken the Bodhisattva vow or who want to practice the Bodhisattva path, then they should, whatever merit one has made, and I says, whatever merit I have made, I will make those merit be the cause to eliminate the suffering of all the sentient beings. All the sentient beings means not one or two sentient beings, but all sentient beings without exception, without excluding any sentient being. And so these are all what you have to think daily. How you think, how you deal with this situations, and you must also think that may I be medicine, may I be doctor to the sick person, may I be the good nurse to that sick person. So it means that whenever any sick person needs the help, then you must make the wishes that at that time may I be there, may I be there helping such sick person. And when there is no medicine, then may I myself turn it to be the medicine. It is like that there was a king, Patma, and I think he was Bodhisattva. And when once there was a patient who was very sick, and doctor diagnosed, and they found that there was no medicine for his illness. And then doctor saw that only medicine is the kind of the fish. It's called, the name of the fish in Sanskrit called rohita, the fish rohita. That fish is very difficult to find. Only you have to go maybe deep in the ocean or somewhere. Otherwise, you will not find such in small rivers and all those things. So that King Padma himself manifested in the fish, and then that fish was made for medicine. So such you should make wishes that whenever there is whenever whoever needs the help, may I appear there in a way that whatever help. So, for example, today, we can make the wishes that lots of sufferings in Africa, and there is no food, no medicine, and so we should make that, in the future, I will be able to benefit place like that, and people like sentient beings like that. And what happens means this one, then this will directly helps you to generate your bodhicitta. And then when you generate bodhicitta, the bodhicitta will be there all the time. It will not be declined. So it is said that where there is no food, where there is no drinks, may I be food and drinks, and where there is a poverty, may I be the food and drinks, and where there is a famine, so which we call the Buddhist, we say unprecedented famines. Means after the very end of the world, there will be the big famine, that there will be difficulties to find food and drinks, and only people depend, the sentient being that depend on kind of bone or kind of small things, not real foods. So then you should wish that at that time, may I be born as inexhaustible treasure, that they can get whatever they wishes. So in this way, now when you make such prayers and wishes, and it will, when you become the enlightened beings, then you will actually be able to come like that in the future. You will actually be able to manifest yourself whenever there is a need. And and you must make you must make up your mind to give whatever belongings you have, and whatever the merits you have, even your bodies, you must give, you must abandon, or you must give to other people without attachment. The reason is why you give up all your belongings, all your bodies, is because at the end, one has to leave everything, all your belongings, all your bodies, you have to go oneself alone. So then, why not you make this, givings now? Because if you make the givings now, then that will create you the enlightenment. And if you do that, if you don't give these belongings or for the needies, and then at the end you have to give up everything. And that time your giving up will not consider the generosity. Your giving up is nothing. You have to give, no choice. And here we say that giving the body. So giving the body is as you make the wishes like this, and then you try to give. It does not mean that when you make these wishes, then you have to give everything now. You make first in your mind, not physically. Physical, you should do much later. First, you make familiar your mind with these practices. And then, as you are familiar and with this practice, you will naturally have no much possession or no much attachment to your belongings and to everything. So then you can, at that time, give. So similarly, that the body is also not to be given now when you are beginner, even when you are training. It is only to be given when you achieve at least first level of enlightenment. Then you should give, because till then, though you may think you should give or you may try, but since you have an attachment, you have not realized emptiness. So then after giving, you will have regret. So then it is, your giving is what they call destroyed, become not meaningful. So you should not have, whatever you do, there should not be the attachment. So then when you become the enlightened, at least first level enlightened being, then there is no problem, because you have realized emptiness. So you will not see the pain. So otherwise, if you give now, you have the pain. And then maybe on halfway you will regret. You will think, oh, I should not have. So then it is finished. So great bodhisattvas like Buddha Shakyamuni himself, there was a story that one Buddha gave the body to a hungry tigress, female tigress, and it was because that time it was the Buddha Shakyamuni actually, his previous life. So there he gave his body to the hungry tiger who did not find anything to eat and was going to die without food. So that time Buddhas gave, there is no problem, because he has no attachment, he realized emptiness. And often you should remember that I have dedicated my body to the sentient beings. And now, so that means when you actually train yourself, your mind, you should keep this thinking mentally, not physically go and give, but mentally keep thinking sometimes, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes in a day, sit down and think that I have given this body to the sentient beings. So now, whether they kill or whether they accuse or whether they beat me, it is up to them. They can do whatever they want to do with my body. So you think this way and make yourself familiar to these ideas. And then gradually that you can generate your bodhicittas. And after having taken the bodhisattva vows, you may not be able to have actual bodhicittas. You still have to train your mind. That is just taking bodhisattva vow is just admission into the school. So you have to now study a lot. So then practically if somebody accuses you, if somebody beats you, you should not get angry. You should not retaliate. You should try to escape from such circumstances, but you should not retaliate. Then it's practically you are practicing person. But then not what you call, you are doing this not to show up, to make the people say you are a good person. Not that kind of motivation, but really thinking that that's my sentient being, my parents, my relatives, it is his ignorance that he made. So if with this understanding you escape and not retaliate, then that is the Bodhisattva practice. Or Bodhisattva we call attitude, also called Bodhisattva attitude. Today sometimes this happens that physically to show out, they themselves create the circumstances and then they show out. This is just not Bodhisattva. And then said that whoever in corresponding you myself or aiming at myself, whoever has the anger and out of that anger gives me trouble, or whoever has the faith in me and out of that faith whoever benefits me, all the sentient beings equally be satisfied, be fulfilled by such circumstances. And then you change such circumstances into your path, Bodhisattva path. And always, whenever there is a people, you see good people, you see bad people, no differentiation. Not that being close to the good ones and not being good to the bad ones. You equally wish that may all these sentient beings will be fortunate enough to achieve the enlightenment. And may I be, also you can wish, may I be the protectors, those who need to protect. And may I be the navigators or guide, or may I be boat to cross the sea, or may I be the bridge to cross the whatever, you know. So why it is saying is only particular circumstance. Not every time you don't have to say that may I be the whoever needs navigator, whoever needs the boat, whoever needs the bridge. But only particular circumstances that by being, that means these are all, as I said, your wishes. And then when you make these wishes, make this idea familiar, when you got enlightenment, you are still with these ideas. And then you will be able to manifest yourself as a bridge, yourself as a boat, yourself when somebody needs, you can be there in the forest when somebody needs your guide, for example. So the circumstances like this, that the person, for example, went into the jungle, forest, and he lost the way and he can't come out. But if he can't come out, there is danger for to be eaten by tigers, eaten by lion. So it is very dangerous. So such circumstances, you wish that you will be there as a navigator, as a guide. So similarly, that you cross the sea or cross the, what do you call, river or whatever, you know, there, when there's a bridge, is that particular person has the danger here. So he can't cross. If he cross, he can escape that danger, but he can't cross because there's no bridge to cross it. So then you wish that at that time you will be as a bridge. So that means then in the future you will be, if you make now familiar to this, then in the future you will be able to come in that kind of manifestations and to benefit in the beings. And Buddhas, all the Buddhas, they have the, what do you call it? Buddha ring, we say Buddha ring. But the size of the Buddha ring is the different. So size of the Buddha is different is because how strongly you make these wishes, you make this kind of, generations, that much bigger you will get when you become Buddha, that much bigger Buddha than you will. And it says that may I be a servant, slave, whenever there is needed for the sentient beings. And it says, may I be the lamp for the sentient beings, which means that, well, sometimes in this world it can be very helpful if you become a lamp, but particularly there is many areas, maybe deep in the ground, mostly deep in the ground, there is a totally dark, there's no light. And there are many sentient beings, not human beings, but many other sentient beings, insects or snakes, or they have tremendous suffering because of not having light, in the darkness. So you must pray that may I be able to be a lamp in such circumstances. And more overall, that may I be like our four elements and the space that all human being lives because of these four elements and the space. If there's no for earth, water, these things, and the space, we can't live. We can't be alive. So similarly, that may I be able to make the people's, may I be able to, circumstances for the sentient beings to live as the four element spaces causes the circumstances. Clear? And then may I be able to be a guide to countless sentient beings until they achieve the liberation. So this is how to generate your bodhicitta, or generate or preserve the bodhicitta. And now it is teaching how to, as I said yesterday, how to take the bodhisattva vows. It is actually saying that you must say and verbally say and mentally think that in front of the shrine or in front of the teacher, that I must generate bodhicitta in a way the past Buddhas generated. And then you must say that I will also not just generating the bodhicitta, but I will also give the precepts and the practice of the bodhisattvas. So the practice are the 6 paramitas. The main practice is the 6 paramitas. There are many other practices, but the main practice is the 6 paramitas. And as past bodhisattvas, they practice the bodhisattva path step by step, and I will also do in the same way, step by step. Okay? So you can't practice everything immediately. So you should say these kind of things. And not only just generate the bodhicitta, then this is how to take the wishing bodhicittas. Now to take the entering bodhicitta, not just taking the wishing bodhicitta, but I am going to take this bodhisattva, I'm going to generate bodhicitta in order to benefit the sentient beings. So benefit the sentient being actually then means I will actually go into the practice of the bodhisattva path, or 6 paramitas, etc. And I will remain, I will train myself with the bodhisattva practice gradually or step by step as the past Buddhas and Bodhisattvas did. Though he was a practitioner of Mahayana Bodhisattva practice, but he achieved right enlightenment. So it's said that it is contradiction because
Lama de la Janza lo Janjo Senjo Rinpoche Maje Banam Jeju Jeva Nyamba Meva Kone Kondo Pewara Sho Sa Ye Biji Shuye Metodam Ravani Ye Ninde Jembandi Sanje Shindo Mide Kuwai Rogun Namda Shindo Jeva Sho Sanje Namje Samana Oye Jeda Jeda Chejun Timon Tewai Chuji Kolo Kodo Sos. So yesterday's teaching was about vigilance or cautiousness about one's body, mind, speech, actions. So what does vigilance actually means here is to practice bodhisattva attitude diligently without negative affliction such as anger, desire and ignorance. So which actually means that all the practices, whatever one may do regarding the bodhisattva practice, that they should not mix with these mental afflictions. And whatever is, those seemingly look like the practice, but inside the mental affliction goes with the practice, then those are not the bodhisattva's practice. Because these 3 afflictions always deals with the self-purpose, and the bodhisattva attitude, bodhisattva practice is the other opposite, that it has to go with the motivation for the benefit of sentient beings. So therefore, as long as one has those 3 afflictions, then one's though physically practice, or though physically recite, or though physically do the 6 paramitas, all those are not considered to be the bodhisattva practice, and those practices will not become the perfections, because it does not perfect, and so it will not be the path to the liberation. And then today, the practice teaching is the 5th chapter, which is known as the chapter of mindfulness and awareness. Awareness can also mean alert, being alert, alertness.
these two are sort of mental derivation. It is not the principal mind, but they came from the principal mind. And also the differences in these two are very subtle, so it is very difficult to differentiate and to distinctively point out what is the mindfulness and what is awareness. But then, by example, that when you ride a horse, when you ride a very wild horse, and you hold the reins of the horse, so the wild horse is your mind, the wild mind, and the rein is the mindfulness. And the person yourself who is looking the direction and where it is going, what it is doing, is the awareness. So this mindfulness actually means sort of remembering the teachings which tells what is to be done and what is not to be done. So it is sort of keeping the kind of the mental derivation that keeps those precepts, those attitudes, and those those recognize what is to be done and what is not to be done. That means what is to be done is the virtuous deed or bodhisattva attitude, and what is not to be done is the non-virtuous or negative actions or negative activities. And the mind, then, awareness is something that directs you to those practices. So when you practice the generosity, and during the generosity you should realize that this generosity should not be mixed with the negatives. Negative means kind of thought, expectation by being generosity, or thought that is for the aiming at fame or praises or anything like that. So then this mindfulness should bring that mind back to the actual generosity, which is the bodhicitta, motivation. And then when you actually giving, that is done by the awareness. So these two goes together and very, very similar, and differences very, very subtle. But anyway, as long as you practice, as long as you are watchful, you are, as long as you keep your mind from the negative activities, and you practice the six perfections, then both awareness and mindfulness are there. And so this chapter actually explains about morality or ethic. And morality has three different kinds of moralities. And first one is mind, which prevents or which restrains your mind from wrongdoings. Actually, this means non-virtuous deeds. And the second one is morality of collecting the virtuous deeds. And the third one is morality of benefiting the sentient beings. So these three practices are the morality, and more or less all the, I think, six perfections can go with these three practices. And then actual morality is not just thought of preventing preventing mind from the negative actions, but actually inside mind making the determination of not practicing the negativities, and like that. And also in the second one is the determination to practice as much as one can, and the determination to benefit sentient beings, no matter whatever it may cost to benefit the sentient beings. One will still not give up that idea of benefiting sentient beings. So these are the moralities. So it said that firstly, if you want to give the bodhisattva attitudes or bodhisattva precepts, the first thing to do is to protect your mind from the negativities. If one cannot protect the mind from the negative actions, one cannot be able to protect the precepts or bodhisattva attitudes. And the mind is like a mad elephant. So mad elephant, if you release, it can cause lots of destructions and damages. Similarly, that if you don't hold that mind properly and let it go whichever way it wants to go, then it will destroy your this life and future lives, and so that it will not give you the higher rewards. So therefore, as to prevent mad elephant from damaging or destruction, you have to tie that elephant. And similarly, we have to tie our mind with our mindfulness and awareness. And as if one can tie one's mind, the world mind, then one can eliminate all the fears, and one will be able to accumulate all the virtues deeds. And if one could protect one's mind from negativities, then one's mind is love and loving kindness. One's mind is compassion, because it is not anger, it is not hatred, it is not ignorance, it is not desire, it is not jealousy. So the mind is now beautiful. Mind is compassion and love. So then, since you have a love and compassion, by that merit, even the wild animals such as tiger or lions or snakes, they cannot also harm you. And if it is said that you don't have to tie all these animals, all your enemies, all your troublemakers, as long as you can tie your mind, you can hold your mind, don't let it go out, then it is same as tying all those animals' enemies, and so they will not be able to harm you. And so, therefore, one has to tame one's mind. And if one tames one's mind, it is like taming all these wild animals or enemies. If one cannot tame one's mind, then even if you tie those things, it will not solve your problems. So taming mind is and so therefore Buddha said that all the fears, all the sufferings are all these caused by one's mind. And there is no physically that can cause your these fears and sufferings. So as when you can't tame your mind, then these outer enemies or world animals, they becomes your fear, they becomes your enemy, they becomes your problems. It is said in sutras by Buddha that if one can control the mind, then one can control everything. And if one cannot control the mind, then one cannot control anything, even one cannot accumulate virtuous deeds. So it's very important is to tame the mind. And whatever merit we do, whatever negative actions we may do, ultimately it comes to the mind. That mind, what kind of mind, with what kind of mind one accumulated merit or virtuous deed, or what kind of mind one accumulated non-virtuous deeds. So the mind is the one that to say that your physical action is virtuous or not virtuous. Then it said that we talk about, Buddhists talk about hell and hell gods and all these things. And these are actually not physically existing. There is no one who created the hell. There is no one who created the hell god. There is no one who created the heat and cold that in the hell realms. It is all one's mind. So if one's mind is controlled, then physically there is no hell, there is no suffering. So all this is, Buddha said, all this physical, your hell realm or sufferings in the hell are due to one's negative mind. So mind is the principal thing. Then it said that even if you practice the 6 perfections, it is to do with the mind, not just physically physical actions. For example, generosity. And generosity does not mean to free all the sentient beings from the poverty. But if the generosity means to free all the sentient beings from the poverty, then even now, Buddhas, they also have not accomplished perfections, generosity. So physical freeing them from the poverty is not a generosity. That is the physical action which comes out of your mental generosity. The mental generosity is the real generosity. So mental generosity is from the mind. You have to be courageous to give everything for the benefit of sentient beings. Not just throwing everything by saying that I gave up all these things, but when the circumstance is there, when the beggar is there, when the poor is there, when somebody who is sick don't have the medicine, at that time, then you should be able to give it without stinginess, without attachment. So then that principal mind, that has no stinginess, that has the courage to give this when there is a circumstances to give the sentient benefit the sentient being. That is the generosity. Not physically giving. Giving is the generosity. And then it said that morality is also not physical action. Morality means, principle, what morality means is not harming the sentient beings. That is the principle of morality. So not harming sentient being, physically not. If it is the physically, then you have to, for example, fishers, they fish, and slaughterers, they kill the animals. And where are you going to keep them? Somewhere where no fishers can kill fish and where no slaughterers can kill it. So if that is the case, even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Even now they have not completed the morality, perfection of moralities. So that is the not one. The main thing is from your mind to determine, give the determination that no matter whatever circumstances comes, I will never harm the sentient being. So that mind is the real, actual morality.
Shall I shut the windows? It might help.
It's all right.
Okay, you like Brad.
And so mentally determine that I will never make any sentient being unhappy. I will never cause hurt any sentient being. That mind is the morality. And then tolerance is also like that. Tolerance is not just killing all enemies or killing all the people who create you the trouble, or not sending them somewhere, or not putting them somewhere. It is our mind that one determination that one will never get angry. Whatever the other sentient beings disturbs you or harms you, one will never get angry. So one will never show the anger. So that mind is the tolerance. And if so, it is like that. If you have a kind of mind, then it is like you destroyed all the enemies, because there will be no enemies for you. For example, that to protect your feet, you have to wear the shoes. But instead of wearing shoes, if you plan to cover whole earth with the leather, that is not possible. But you just cover your feet, then it is same as you covered all area wherever you go. So similarly, that if your mind is in kept compassionate, loving kindness, then it is same as you are practicing tolerance, and as it is same as you destroy all the enemies. And so it is said that like a loving kindness is also inside. The example is that one time in Ganga River, a mother and son were taken away by the river, and both mother has the love for the son, and the son has the love for mother, and they both want to save each other. That mother is not thinking about her problem, but just thinking of son and thinking that how to protect, how to save the son. And son is also forgetting himself and thinking about mother and thinking of how to save the mother. But ultimately they could not save each other. So then if the physical practice is that, then they have not completed physical practice because they could not save each other. But since they have such good heart, they were, because of that merit, they were born in heaven. So therefore the mind is more important. We usually Tibetans say tsuche. Some practitioners we call tsuche. Tsuche means artificial attitude. That physically acting as if a meditator, acting as a practitioner, but inside is not that. Then that is called tsuche, the artificial practitioner. It's not the real practitioner. if mind is good, physical actions sometimes you may have to act wrongly to benefit somebody. And physically it may look like, sometimes your action may look like negative. So then the contemplation, perfection of the contemplation is also not just sitting there and reciting the mantras, all these things, but your mind should not be negative. You must be watchful, your mind. And if the mind goes with other negative thoughts, then physically whatever you do is not the practice. So it's said that physically dressed up as a monk, physically dress up as a lay, ngapa means higher Vajrayana practitioners. And if they do not have inside the compassion and bodhicitta, then this will not lead you to the liberation. So that could happen. These things, and some, if you go for the retreat, maybe 3 years or maybe whole life, maybe your hair is long hair, you keep long hair, and all hair is tangled, and then you tie up and show as if you have done not a retreat. So then this is what I call a certificate. If your mind is not rapid, then this is just certificate. Just to say you have gone through that. Maybe you can get some job, but it will not lead you to the liberation. So physical is not important. Inside is very important. Today it happens that physically acting as if somebody, people also thinks that is. And those who do not act physically, who are simple, humble, may think, oh, he is so-so. So then we make mistakes, so we should not be mistaken in such cases. And then is the wisdom perfection. The wisdom perfection is not just you know a lot of Dharma, not just that you know a lot of sciences, and but the wisdom perfection is that mind should realize the nature of the mind. And every phenomenon that we see outwardly are just like a reflection in the mirror. So the mind is the mirror. So therefore, that the reflection in the mind do not exist. It is all because of our negative karmas that we see all these other phenomena. So therefore, then ultimately, what is the nature of the mind? The nature of the mind is the emptiness. So when you realize the emptiness, that is the perfection of the wisdom. The knowledgeable is not the wisdom, perfection. So this ultimate, that emptiness is known as the mental secret, because it is secret to common people. Only those who has learned and who has practiced, they realize, and it is not visible to everybody. So it is known as the nature of the mind is the secret. The emptiness is the secret. So anyway, it said that protect your mind. You do not need any practice more than protecting your mind. Because if you protect your mind, after physical practice comes automatically. And so therefore the mind is very important to protect. So always you watch that what mind is doing. If it is thinking something to do bad, at that very moment you must have the mindfulness, thinking that this is not allowed, this is not a good thing, and then come back from that anger or from that bad thought and stick on the mind itself. Then that is the what you call awareness. Then mind, if mind is pure, mind is protected, then it said, no matter wherever you travel, no matter with whoever you travel with, and no matter whatever place, even you are in a bad place, or even you are in the bad people, go with the bad people, your mind is always mindfulness and awareness, so you will never commit any negative actions. So there's no problem. If you have a mind, then you can do whatever you do. You can travel wherever you want. You can talk with whomever you want. If the mind is not controlled, then these circumstances, these situations can be dangerous. Then you may travel with your bad people. Maybe they want you to break in somebody's house. You may join. Or they want you to kill somebody. You may join. Also, all sort of these things. If your mind is protected and mindfulness is there, then even if your friends wants to go somewhere to break in, you will not join. So that doesn't matter whoever is your friend. For example, when one has the wound or sore on the leg, so when you travel or sit among the group of people, you will be very careful that people will hurt it. So you are very watchful, you are very mindful. Similarly, that you should watch the sore of your mind, wound of your mind, that always keep that they will affect my mind. You must always think that dealing with them, they may affect your mind. And then you keep your mind in proper way. And it said also that since a small wound or the sore, you be very cautious, very careful, very mindful, because actually that will not cause you big problems. Maybe a little bit, 1 minute you feel pain, but after that it will go off. But if your mind, the soul of the mind is not protected, then it will create bigger troubles. So it said that if the mind is protected, even if the ordinary monks, they travel wherever they want, they travel with whomever people, any kind of people they go with, it will not affect his practice and his vows. So in one of the, I think it may be in this text later on, that, or it is in this Sajja Pandita's sage's intent, that if mind is good, whatever Buddha banned can be practiced. So it said the most important, and one should think that no matter whatever virtues deed I may be declined, but I should not decline my mind. I should make the mind protected all the time from the negative actions. And then all other physical actions will naturally become the virtuous action. So Shantideva here said that I request all practitioners with my hands, palms at heart, that please be with the awareness and the mindfulness. So what he means is that it is very important for Bodhisattva practitioners, or even any Buddhist practitioners. This is very important. And if that person who is though physically look healthy, physically look bright, knowledgeable, but if he had some kind of defect in his body or sickness, then that person cannot do much works, physically works. So similarly, that with negative mind, with unprotected mind, then cannot do much virtuous deeds. And if you do not have the mindfulness and awareness, whatever hearings, teachings, whatever contemplations, whatever meditations one may do, it is futile. It is like baseless containers that you pour the waters in but never stay there, it goes out. So similarly, that if you do not have the mindfulness and awareness, whatever hearings, whatever contemplations, whatever meditations you may do, they will not stay with your mind, because the mind is actually, while you are doing that, you might be doing, maybe while you are hearing, you must be hearing, while you are contemplating, while you are meditating, you are meditating, but after that, it is gone. There is no mindfulness and awareness. And if you do not have the mindfulness and the awareness, the negatives are the burglar for your merit, your virtuous deeds. Because then you will commit the non-virtuous deeds, and with that it is a burglar, it is then something like burglar of your virtuous deeds, because when you do the non-virtuous deeds, then it will make your virtuous deed ineffective. So it will not become a merit, it will not give you the result. So it is a burglar of your happiness and your the effectiveness of the virtuous deeds. It is then these negative thoughts, negative emotions are burglar, because burglars always seek the opportunity to get something. And similarly, that your negatives are like that always seeking the opportunity to destroy or to take away your virtuous deeds. And then, therefore, you must always keep your mind with the awareness and mindfulness. And whenever your mind goes with the negative activities, negative thoughts, you should try to remember you should try to have the mindfulness and awareness, and also mindfulness here things that you should think that these negatives are not to be done, not supposed to be done. It is not a good thing to do. And also you can travel with the teacher, discuss with the Dharma, travel with the Dharma friends, and remember their advices, and thinking that if I break the vow, or if I break the Bodhisattva vows, then even my teacher, my friend, they will what? They will look down, they will scold me, or something like this kind of. By remembering that, you refrain your mind from doing the negative things or wrong things. And also you should think that Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are always there looking at you, and if you do negativities, they will not be happy. They will not be they will not give you the favor or something like that kind of things. Correcting your mind and try to protect your mind. So basically it said you must have, in Tibetan there are two words, ngota and teyeva. So ngota means any act, when you are doing any negative actions, you must feel yourself, it is not a good thing. I'm not supposed to do. If I do this, I become a bad person. Then with that you should restrain or you refrain from actions. And teyeva means not just because it is not good for you, but also your friends, your teachers will, let's say embarrass.
Disappointed.
Not disappointed. Embarrass you. And that if you do bad things, you say, oh, you that, you know. So that kind of things, you should feel that it is not something to be done. So then, if you remember such things, and you also, by thinking that Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas are there, and they are watching you, and then it also becomes another practice, which is known as remembrance of the Buddha. That is one of the 4 remembrances practice. So if you, and with mindfulness, if you all remain with the one mindfulness, then awareness is always there, comes with it automatically, and then your actions will not be wrong actions. And so now, so even if somebody, or if you have a wrong thought, when the thought arises in you, you might suddenly remember somebody harmed you, somebody who harmed you, somebody who troubled you. You suddenly may remember, and you may think bad about it, or you may think to retaliate at things. And at that very moment, then by thinking that this is not the right thing, to think that way, then you keep, it says, you remain yourself as a tree. Tree means, tree has no consciousness, it has no mind, so it can't talk to you, it doesn't move. So like that, you should not move physically, you should not think physically, just forget, try to forget all these thoughts. then now here the following us actually how usually you deal your daily life, how usually your physical attitudes deal it. This is more or less actually based for the ordained monks who is completely dedicated in the Dharma practice and who doesn't have to worry about family, who doesn't worry about the business or job. So has, kind of, so those people, then they should have these attitudes. For example, when you always should not keep the eyes very open, and if you travel, you should travel just looking maybe few, 6-7 feet away, not far than that you should look. But that is during the Buddha's time in the past that they had to do. So, and then when you are traveling to a dangerous place, and you have to be very cautious. So you have to know anybody's coming from this side, anybody's coming from that side, and anybody's coming from behind, or even the animals, tigers, or burglars. So you have to be very cautious and watchful. So that case situation, and you should also not just suddenly do like this, but you travel, you walk, then stop first, then gently look around, and then if you have to look at the backside, stop, and then slowly look around, and if there is nobody, then you travel. If there's somebody, then you try to run away. And when you travel to the parties, when you travel to the religious ceremonies, when you go for the gatherings, also you should keep your mind with the mindfulness and awareness. Always watch your actions, whether it is negative or not negative. And if it is negative, you should be able to correct the actions. Then so, since that it is said that you have to so when there is actually two when there are two situations appears, and then you should say that you need to practice the six perfect generosity, and at the same time you have to keep the moralities. So then, what you should do, that if you don't keep the morality, you can't do the generosity. When you give the generosity, you can't do the moralities. So at that time, actually depends on the which is more important, and you do the important, and if it affects the other practice, then it is not a breaking the Bodhisattva vows. And for example, if you are doing the generosity, then you can keep the morality in neutral position. And if two things that you can do, then you do whatever you do the first, because you can't do two together. And for example, if a hunter is chasing the deer, and he lost the deer, he didn't know that where the deer go. And at that time, if hunter comes to you and asks you, you saw actually deer where it went, and he asked you where it went. Now you have to tell lie. Otherwise you can't protect this. And if you tell lie, you may also have to worry that it will break your morality, because you are not supposed to tell lie. So at that time, then you can tell lie, because the important is that you are protecting that animals. So if at that time you thinking that, oh, if I tell lie, it is not good for morality, and say that, oh, deer went this way, then he got killed, and then that is not good. So that time you should think that which one is more important, and practice the important one, and the other one leave it. So is so many other works, other practices. So I leave you here.